TK, if you can start the recording whenever you get a second, and we'll get the ball rolling here. So give me a thumbs up when you got it all set. Awesome. So welcome to another Wicked Smart webinar. I am Andy Bonce. I'm the marketing manager for Midwest Family. I will be your facilitator and your guest speaker today. So lucky you. We started this Wicked Smart webinar back in March, and it's a bi-weekly webinar. We bring experts and resources from across the Midwest and even across the world. We've had some people from England, or one person from England talk a few months ago. So just some housekeeping. This is going to be recorded. We will put it on our YouTube channel, but you'll also get that in your email from us in the next 24 hours or so. You'll also get access to the slides because I've added a bunch of resources and things in here today. So without further delay, I will not delay here. So because I think I'm going to cover a lot, but before I get going, what I want you to do is I want you to enter your type of business in the chat right now. So as I get rolling into here, I want you to enter what type of business that you own or work for or marketing leader for. Put that in the chat for me right now, and I might be able to pull in some examples for all the non-Midwest Family people. If you're with Midwest Family, then just sit and listen for me. So, all right. So I'm going to talk about the 5 questions every business needs answered before they spend any money on ads in 2021. It's not going to be super complex, but it will be very important. So my goal for this talk for you is for you to think smarter, not harder, to work smarter, not harder. I also want you to leave this with a strategy first mindset, because there's too many shiny marketing tools, too many great tool salesmen out there, or the fact that your neighbor business or your competitors doing something, drawing you all over the place and not making a lot of progress. So I want to hedge against that and encourage you to think with a strategy first mindset. I want to reduce the clutter and the choices that you have with marketing tools and technology. And I also want you to think more holistically when it comes to marketing, because it's very easy to get stuck inside your business and not see it from an outside perspective sometimes because of all the daily fires that happen and because you're in it every single day. So I hope after today, I can help accomplish those goals today. So what questions might you have? So who am I and why should you listen to me? Because I think that's important. How am I going to help you make more money? And how am I going to help make your job easier as a business owner or as a marketing professional? So I want to dive into those. So who am I? So if you've been to previous Wicked Smart webinars, you've heard me talk, but probably don't know a lot about me. So I'm the marketing manager for Midwest Family. I've been here for about 1.5 years. But prior to that, I owned my own digital marketing agency. I started it up from kind of my bootstraps, and I learned Facebook ads back when Facebook ads were still kind of cool. And I dove in. I learned as much as I could. And I got all these certifications. I spent countless hours working with small business owners just like you, helping them work through problems that you're going through. And I'm also a nerd about this stuff. I read books. I listen to podcasts. I pay attention to kind of latest and greatest trends. But I also have been in your shoes of being a business owner. I understand how important it is to focus and prioritize, but also how much of a challenge it is to focus and prioritize, because the latest and greatest seems a lot more exciting than what you've been doing. So that just a little bit about me. I won't spend a lot more time on that. So what is the challenge that you have as a business owner, and why did I choose this topic? So right now, you probably have less budget than you've ever had before because of what happened last year. You might. You also, the number of marketing tools keeps going up. They're not going away. And you keep feeling pressure to do a little bit of everything, and sometimes nothing is working very well. There's also more uncertainty right now because of what happened in 2020 and kind of the residual is still around in 2021. And we don't know what it's going to look like in 3 months. We just don't know. But being able to understand that and be able to adjust is going to be very important as we proceed kind of through spring into summer. And not to hit that, because I'm sure you're all feeling that, not to hit that too hard on the head, the customer journey is more complex than ever, mainly because customers are more complex because they're pulled in hundreds of different directions. And we have the attention spans of goldfish right now because of all the tools and technology and things that go along with that. So I want to talk about that complex customer journey. So here's an example of what the customer journey is like for somebody who's shopping for a car. And I use this example because most of us have bought a car at some point in the last 5 years, most likely. And what it was like buying a car 20 years ago is vastly different than what it is today. And some of this stuff might not even be accurate, but depending on how old you are or what generation you're in or what tools that you use. But this is just an example. So when someone's first searching for a car, they'll probably start asking questions on Google, best car for this, best car for that. They're trying to sort through what kind of car they want to buy. And then they might start looking at multiple different manufacturers. Maybe they'll ask on Facebook, hey, what's the best car for a family, or what's the best car for gas mileage or whatnot. Then they start seeing ads. They start paying attention to ads because they're in the market, but they're not quite sure yet. So they're paying a little bit more attention. So they might start looking at, maybe they found one. And then they're like, okay, well, what would my new payment be? So they go to the calculator and they see ads in the newspaper, like, oh, okay, so there's this offer, there's this deal. And then they look on their phone, and then they visit dealer websites in their local area, and they're comparing models on different type of, buyer review sites and stuff, and comparing reviews and looking at safety information. And finally, they visit a dealership and do a test drive. And throughout this whole journey, there's 24 touch points. They're not all going to apply to everybody, but 19 of them are digital. And if you were a car dealership and you didn't have your message on a particular part of this journey, it would leave the door open for your competitor to possibly leapfrog you in the business. Just take that business from that particular person. And you can't be everywhere and everything to all people. So I want to kind of talk about the 5 questions that I'll cover today. And they're very basic questions. They might sound like I'm a little bit of a 5th grader with these, but that's okay because they're important. So who are your ideal customers? And I want you to think very specific about this. Think if the next 100 people walked through your door or went to your website, looked like X, you'd have your best year ever. Who would that be? Specifically, right? And then where are these people spending their time online? Where are they spending their time offline? Where and when should you start trying to reach these people? Like, where are they at? What should you do first as a business owner? Where should you invest your money first? Where should you invest your time and resources? Where should your teams be investing their time and resources? And then finally, why? Why should they choose you? Why are you different? Why are you versus them? All those marketing questions that we like to ask as marketers also often, but tend to stump business owners at times because they're a little bit too close to their business possibly. So let's dive in. So who? Options. Right now, there is so many different types of who's that you can target out there. There's generational people, because you kind of have to talk, if you're trying to help people in the silent generation, you got to talk to them a little bit differently than Gen Z, right? Millennials are a hot button right now, hot topic, because they confuse the older generations older than us. And we're starting to have more money and enter into leadership positions. So who? More options with who. So we have, in each of these generations, we have male and female, and men and women do things for completely different reasons. And if you were messaging differently or the same to men and women, you probably would talk to either one of them very well. Depending on what kind of product or service you offer. Maybe it makes sense to talk to them differently if they have kids or without kids. If they're married or if they're single, their lives are completely different. Maybe for your business, having a college degree is different than talking to a person without a college degree. Maybe a level of sophistication, or it could be any number of different things. So I want you to do another thing for me today in a second. So as I'm talking through this, I want you to put in the chat box right now what generation you're going to focus on, because I want you to focus on one right now. As I go through my examples, enter in the chat box pick a gender and pick a generation on who you are going to focus on. And if you want to be more specific than that, then I think that will help the conversation even further. So enter that in the chat box right now as I go forward, and we'll keep going. So
Andy, Deb has raised her hand. If you want to open up your mic, Deb, go ahead and ask.
the question.
Not sure. I saw a hand raised, and this is a pretty intimate group. If you'd like to open up your mic, you're certainly able to ask a question. And it looks like Shannon Shell also raised hands. So if you want to ask something, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. If you get your mic open, feel free to interrupt me. But all right. So it looks like we have Tony's focusing on boomers, Abby's Gen X, Christina's baby boomers, David, male and female Gen X. Okay, cool. That's awesome. So as we go forward, so right now, it's important to continue to focus your marketing because it'll allow you, and it'll make more sense here in a second. So when I owned my own agency, I was working with a salon, and salons offer dozens and dozens of products and service offering. And she was kind of going in all different directions. So I helped her focus. So she had a small budget. And what we did is we focused just on female millennials. And we also focused just on hair extensions because it was a differentiation point for them, because they had offered it better. It was one of the things that they did better than a lot of people in the local area. And if they were able to just get them in the door for that, they could sell them the other services. So it's kind of like the first product they could come into, and then they could let their employees add more products and services to them. So by doing so, we were able to take her little itty bitty budget and own her market. So that's all she was talking about in her messages were hair extensions, which differentiated her from her competitors and allowed her to talk right to millennials on what they cared about. Because a millennial might care about something different than, Gen Z or Gen X or the other generations. And then another example, a friend of mine owns a financial advisor business in the Fox Cities area. And their business, he had a very small budget too. It was just him. He had a small team. He had just kind of gotten his business going in the area. And he chose 45 to 60-year-old males. And he chose two tools. There's something called targeted display, which basically is just serving up ads, tile ads on blogs and apps and things like that. And OTT, which is video services like Roku and things like that, streaming services where you can watch on a smart TV or your phone or on a desktop. So, and the audience is only 15,000 people. So it wasn't very big. But because he was focused, all of the people that walked in when his advertising worked is they said, I see you everywhere. I see your business everywhere. You're following me around the whole internet. And it wasn't everywhere on the internet. It was just because he was able to talk specifically to these people. He was able to maximize the results of his advertising. So, and my pro tip, my recommendation to where as you start this focus, kind of build it in maybe 90-day chunks to where once you figure one out, you kind of stack another one on top of it. And you can reach multiple either services or generations or audiences, right? As you go along. So, and you can, at that point, you're getting more results, kind of stacking out results, and you can increase your budget, right? So one thing that I encourage you to do and a side benefit of this, well, not really a side benefit, a really main benefit of this is you'll be able to talk to your audience like you're talking to a friend. And they'll have the reaction, like, how does this company understand me so well? Like, how are their messages talking right to my pain points? I feel like it's a one-to-one conversation. If you do this well, that's kind of the reaction that you're trying to encourage, right? Now, one warning: as marketers, we have such sophisticated tools that it can be dangerous to over-target. Where if you targeted too specifically via the tool, like if you were on Facebook and you want to talk to 33-year-old women with kids and only them, that's dangerous because you're not allowing, well, for a number of different reasons, but you're not allowing kind of word of mouth to happen. You're missing, you could be too over targeting. The goal here is to write your message, your marketing, your ads, like you're talking to that person, but cast a wide net. So don't over target with the tool, talk specifically as you write the message, as you're writing your advertisements, whether it be audio or written, right? So key point there. So let's continue. This is the old way to do it. So how not to do it. So the old way, when I've talked to a lot of times advertising people, they'll lump people in, I want to target millennials 30 to 40 years old. That's too broad from a messaging standpoint, okay? So that's how not to do it. This is how I suggest that you do it. So this is something that we did internally inside Midwest Family because millennials. So we picked Mary the Millennial. She's 33 years old. She's a nurse. She owns a home. She has 2 kids. Her favorite place to shop is Little Consignment Sale. She loves reading blogs like Madison Mom Blog and Who the Frog. She works out at Dragonfly Hot Yoga. She loves DIY stores like Revel. Her perfect night out is a glass of wine and an event at the Crafty Project. And her favorite movie is Dirty Dancing in the Twilight Saga. It's much easier to talk to Mary knowing this about her. How did I get all this information? So here is a document that we put together. If you can see that, oh, you won't be able to see it right now, but when you click on the link inside of the slide, you'll be able to see that. So I was able to go inside Facebook Audience Insights, and if you have a Facebook ads account, you have access to this. You can see all of the Facebook pages that someone like Mary likes inside of your area. So I added all the cities around Madison for millennials like Mary, and I looked at their favorite pages on Facebook, what they liked on Facebook. And I pulled out common trends and kind of top pages that they like. And it's all data-based because Facebook is one of the best data collectors out there, and they give that to all of their advertisers. So you have the opportunity to use Facebook as kind of a research tool to understand and talk directly to Mary the Millennial. And if it was Mary the Millennial who wasn't married, it didn't have kids, it would look completely different when you change those variables inside Facebook. And here's another example. Oh, and then there's a resource here where you can learn kind of a lot about avatars. It's from a company called Digital Marketer. It's a blog I suggest that everybody reads, that you'll have access to those when you get the slides. So I also did a Wicked Smart webinar or last summer sometime. So once you get the slides, you'll be able to watch. I suggest that you watch that if you want to know more about this kind of Facebook cloning. This one was how to clone your customers with Facebook's data for free. So it's a previous Wicked Smart webinar that you can find on our YouTube channel if you're really anxious about it, or you'll get it when you get the slides tomorrow. All right, so next, where and when. Oh, let's skip a slide here. Oh, here's this. I skipped over Mike the Millennial. So Mike the Millennial, he is a production manager at Sub-Zero, has 2 kids, owns a home, plays laser tag board games, and goes to Mallard's games for fun. And he likes craft beer, goes to these different breweries, loves an amazing pizza place in Madison. If you haven't been, Salvatore's Tomato Pies is really good. his favorite movies, Chris Farley and Charlie Barron. So it just painting the picture, because you talk different to Mike than you would Mary. And it allows you kind of the pop culture to, if you're structuring your social media strategy, your email strategy, your conversations, or if you're a sales rep, or your salespeople are talking to these people, you know a little bit more about them. Or you can even do some customer employee enhancement to where it's like, okay, well, what should we do this year to have fun for our clients? You could come up with gift ideas. You could do different partnerships with different types of businesses in the area. It allows you to really understand and lead strategy by really understanding the who. So I can get pretty excited about that topic. So I'll keep going. So where and when? I see there's a question. Hold on a second. All right. Christina feels seen. All right, that's cool. See, you must be a millennial, Christina. Where and when? So where are these people at online and offline? Where are they spending their time? Where are they researching? Where are they at in their customer journey? Are your customers, are you trying to talk to people that are buying right now? Are you trying to get people who are researching to buy you? Are your customers, is Mike the millennial for you unaware that you exist? Is he unaware of the problem that you solve? Do you solve a new problem for him that you have to educate? How would you be able to strategically move them from unaware of you or your problem that you solve to researching? What would you have to say? What questions would you have to ask? How would you be able to move someone who's researching to buy now? What would you have to say to them? What would you have to give them? What would you have to tell them to move them from I'm research mode to I want to buy now? Because if they're in research mode, if you gave them a good enough offer, they might be able to jump into your business before they might go to your competitors. So there's two different types of where they're at. And as far as like a tool, when you think about it, there's passive search and there's active search. So the passive search, this is people that are in the market for your product, but where they're at, they're not looking for you. You're interrupting them from something that they're already doing, right? So think like this. They're at a party, so are you. You want to talk to them, but you don't want to come all salesy at them because they're going to ignore you and run away. Don't be that guy or that girl, right? You don't want to be that guy at the party or the networking event who's just passing out business cards like they're hotcakes. Now I sound like my dad. So these people are on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. They're streaming videos on Roku devices or their favorite streaming services. They're reading blogs, their favorite blogs on, let's say, cooking, or maybe it's weight loss or fitness, sports. And you can reach these people with something called target display, but I won't go that far into tools. Or they're in their car listening to the radio, right? They're not looking for you, but they're in the market. And then there's active search. This is where you gotta think like you're the librarian. You own the library, and you need to give them the information that they're looking for when they're looking for it. So you have the book, you have the piece of paper, you need to give it to them when they're asking the right question. Like, oh, you asked a question? Here you go. I have the perfect book for you. So these are the tools you think SEO, Google Ads or PPC, YouTube's the second biggest search engine out there. Or while they're out researching, like they're on a blog searching weight loss on their favorite fitness forum, you can get in front of them when they're searching those sort of things. They're actively telling you that they're in the market based off of their behavior. You aren't guessing, they're telling you. So if you skipped over those people and you went to something else, you're missing out. So where should you start? So low-hanging fruit. What is the low-hanging fruit? So my rule of thumb, what I suggest and encourage you to do is you think about the marketing funnel that us as marketers love talking about. It looks like this, right? Flip it around. Flip it on flip the point up. I'll show you a picture here in a second. So this is a picture from a book that's not really well known, but I like it. It's called Sticky Branding. And the author talks about how 3% of the people are ready to buy your services of the market. So let's think about this is your market that could buy your services. 3% of them want to buy it right now. 1 to 3%, not a lot. So if you're only talking to these people, there's a lot of waste going on. 7% might change soon and tend to change. However, there's the 90% that they have a need, but they're really not ready to act. There's the people that don't have a need, and the 30% of people that don't have an interest in your company. We can't really know who's who. So you kind of got to, you can't forget about them. They're still there because they'll influence your word of mouth. Now, one thing to note here is strategically, 30 to 40% of your budget should be focused at the top 10%. 60 to 70% of your budget, the rest of the 90%. Keep that in mind. So let's dive in. So think about it as like one of those champagne cascading waterfall things. The champagne bottle is your advertising budget. And the top of the pyramid there is where you should invest your advertising budget. You start at the top and you allow it to cascade as your budget grows. And you're focusing on the people looking for you, and it grows as it cascades down, it kind of fills the rest of the cups, right? Just a good visual there. So now there's the now buyers. Who are these people? So these are the people, they know how they want to solve the problem. They found a method or process, but they're looking for the best business that has that process for them. So they're shopping for the best value or the best price for the method that they're looking for. This, for you as a business owner, this is the fastest return on investment, the fastest return on ad spend. However, it's also the most competition. They're the most expensive people to acquire because supply and demand. Everyone else wants them, you want them too. And it's small. It's only 1 to 3% of the market, but they want you right now. And they want it today, this week, this month. So that's kind of the quick return on advertising. So let's talk about an example. We've all tried to lose weight at some point. So you might be able to relate with Chubby Chad. Chubby Chad, he wants to get fit now. So he's looking right now. So he wants to do high interval training, small group training, maybe a paleo diet or intermittent fasting. So we think about Chad, he's asking questions. What questions are your customers asking that are shopping right now? He's looking for best small gyms, CrossFit gyms like CrossFit, best interval training gyms. If I owned a gym right now, if 100 Chads walked into my business this month, I would have an amazing month because they're looking for me if I own a CrossFit gym or a small box gym type thing. So what's the next group of people? These are the lookers. So the lookers, they're researching, they're open to what you have to solve. So they know they have a problem and they want to solve it soon. So they're either researching a solution to a known problem, or they have a problem, but they don't know a solution exists. So it kind of depends on what business you're in here. This is the 10% of your market here. And they're gonna buy soon. Maybe this month, maybe this quarter, depending on how you talk to them, they might buy now. If you talk to them where they're at, not where you want them to be. Now the competition here is kind of medium to high. So let's continue with Chubby Chad. So Chad's looking at dieting and workout routines. He hasn't found a solution yet. So some things that might be, now this is key, something that might be triggered or happening in his life, a trigger in his life, where that would cause him to be researching would be maybe he's getting married. Maybe he's getting divorced. Maybe he's going on vacation. Maybe it's springtime and he put on the COVID-20 and he's trying to lose it, so he's not bulging out of his bathing suit. What is Chubby Chad looking for when he's researching? He's looking for a guide, an easy solution, a hack, a shortcut, something that's right for him based on where he's at, that talks in language where he's at. So he might be asking questions, what are the best workouts and diets for men? Different question compared to the previous example. So can you see how this would lead strategy, right? So what's the problem? A majority of advertising is only going after the buy now stuff. Buy now, buy right now, especially with digital dollars. Digital people love that top 10% because their attribution is super high. They can prove that it's working. But be careful. Don't ignore it because it's very important. You should start there, but you can't only do that. And Johnny Molson, who's an author and Wizard of Ads consultant, said, if you do that, you only focus on this 10% and not the other 90, then you'll get excited, but the effects will decay and go away. But then you have to take another shot of digital heroin. And then comes in and everyone parties, and then profits fall statistically flat. And you'll go in this roller coaster of emotion, and you won't get anywhere. It'll just kind of be, and you'll never get over that certain point. And you won't know why. So what's the solution here? So to do it right, you need to think long-term and short-term. You need to do both. So think 3 to 5 years down the road and build a strategy that way. And here's another Wicked Smart webinar from a previous, in my opinion, one of my favorites. So go on our YouTube and check that out. So what's the next group of people? These are the future buyers. So these are the people that are unaware they have a problem. They're not ready to solve that problem, or they're just, not now. They're just not ready. So let's talk about that. This is the other 90% of people. And if you neglect these people, you're making a big mistake, because they're the biggest group of people. So they have a problem, but something hasn't triggered them to solve it yet for whatever reason. Or maybe they don't even know. They don't know they have a problem yet. Or they're just not interested in your product or company, and that's okay. But they might know somebody who is when they get asked, right? So this is the least amount of competition. So therefore, it's the cheapest one to get their eyeballs and ears, because they're the rest of the people. If you talk to them where they're at, and it's the slowest return on ad spend, ROI. So there can be the most waste here, but waste is a very negative term. It's just, I would say, inefficient, because it might take them 3 years to buy from you, but maybe they have influence over somebody, a friend that asks them like, hey, do you know somebody who? And because you've built a brand in their mind, they're ready for you. So let's talk about Chubby Chad. So Chubby Chad, he's fat and happy. He doesn't want to do anything about it. The pain of being chubby is being ignored. Like, being fit really isn't that important to him right now. He likes Doritos and pizza more than he cares about being chubby right now. And that's okay. He's living the chubby life and okay with it. So, however, what are some future changes in Chad's life that could kick him out of that, could trigger him away from being fat and happy, or at least that mindset, right? Could be, maybe he's going on a wedding. Maybe he's thinking about getting married. Maybe he proposed, but now he needs to fit into a suit and look fancy for his wedding. Maybe he's getting divorced, he's getting back on the dating pool and has to explore that endeavor. Maybe he's going on vacation in 6 months. And he wants to not bulge out of his bathing suit. What is he looking for? What questions does he have what questions could you ask him, or information could you give him that might move him from where he's at? So what if it was, talking about energy or a better mood? Or what if it was questions like how to look good for your wedding, or best thing to do for when a relationship ends? Maybe he's planning on breaking up with his girlfriend or something, and he doesn't want to do it yet because he's not ready physically to jump into the dating pool again. So just from a strategic standpoint, if you talk to Chad where he's at, you can get his attention before your competitors, and you can build a relationship sooner with Chad. Because if you talk to Chad in messaging about buy now, he's going to ignore you. He won't care because he's not ready. You're not talking to him at his wavelength, where he's at his level. So if you talk to him where he's at, you'll earn his trust. You'll start a relationship with him before your competitors. So whenever Chad's ready, you're there. You've already built a trust. You're already top of mind when he thinks of, if in this example, gyms or weight loss or nutrition or supplements or whatever product you can solve Chad's problem with, you're there. And you have a leg up over everybody else because you talked to him where he was at, not where you wanted him to be. So hopefully that makes sense. If you have any questions, feel free to enter in the chat, because I'm going to keep going here. So the next W, why. So this is the one that marketers, we've been talking about for years. So the whole USP, the secret sauce, why are you different? why you versus others. This is something you probably have figured out right now. It might need some refining. And if you do need some help with that, we're experts at helping, ask the person that invited you here or reach out to us and we can help you create some more differentiation type stuff. But I'm not going to cover that a lot right now because it is very fundamental, but it's very customized to you and your business. So I'm not going to go there a lot. So let's jump into what. So what offer or what message fits each person? As you think about the people who are buying now, the people who are researching, or the people that are the later people, what is the best method to reach these people? So these are tools and tactics. So I haven't talked much about tactics. I've touched on a few of them. Now, this might be a little bit advanced depending on how far you are along with your kind of your lead generation strategy in your business, how far you are with your digital marketing strategies, and your perception of what a lead is for your business. And that's okay. But I hope I can get you to ask the right questions. So for the chubby chads who are in the later, what could you say to him? Maybe giving him a video mini series. Maybe it's the right article or PDF. Maybe it's a blog to where how to have more energy and be in a better mood, or how to look good for a wedding next year, or best thing to do after a relationship ends. You're answering questions that he might have that he might have, but you're asking them where he's at, not where you want to take them. If he's researching, what if you answered questions in a video series, or gave him a training or a challenge or a hack? Maybe you gave him a guide or a shortcut or solution, something that, helping him answer the question, what's the right fit for me? Like if you were to give Chad, when he's just looking, like 10 ways to lose weight for a man in his 30s, or the millennial weight loss guide. That would be 7 things you can do to lose weight as a millennial and a man. Whatever that is delivered on, the content could be a video, could be a book, could be a social media post, could be a combination of all of them. Could be a radio commercial where it's like, hey, we know millennials, we know chubby chads, we're going to own that market, right? And then what type of offer can you have for the now lookers? So what is your offer? What's going to differentiate you, get you people to choose you right now, whether it's be a free trial, a coupon, a sample, something to capture people to get them to differentiate you from everybody else. So now, where do I see the biggest problem is a lot of people are talking to the top 10%, that 7%, the lookers, like buyers. And if you can focus more on the lookers rather than the buyers, you could capture that 7% more effectively. However, make sure you have a good offer for the lookers. It's for the now people, the buyer now. That 1 to 3% who are shopping for you right now, they are actively looking, and they're looking at you and your competitors. So if you have a better offer than your competitors, or talk to them, answer questions better than them, then you'll win. So, and I think that if you have each of these levels figured out in your business and start at the, again, buyer now, and work your way up, then you'll increase the amount of leads and people that are shopping with you, and you'll increase the effectiveness of your ads. So now when you're looking at like a tool tactic standpoint, this is depending on your business, this is going to be different, but this is just my general rule of thumb. As you were kind of start that cascading effect, I would start at Google ads, social ads, target display, OTT, SEO, or search engine optimization, content marketing, and then traditional media on the bottom. So as I would spend your budget, that's kind of how I would spend it. It varies based on your business, but that's just my opinion. People can argue with me if they want, but that's where it's at. All right, so what kind of questions do we have? I have about 5 minutes for questions.
Go ahead and put those in the chat if you'd like. There are a couple that I had emailed to me. And while you're writing your questions, I'll have Andy answer this question. Why shouldn't businesses target only the avatar they want?
Yeah, so you can be too specific with targeting the avatar. I talked about that a little bit, to where if you only target your avatar, you're not allowing the friends and family of your avatar to hear the message too. Because sometimes the wife is solving problems for the husband, or if like my mom is 70 or almost 70 years old, to where I might be buying stuff for her, or those sort of things. So those extra layers of the people influencing your avatar, your persona, if you only target them, they're not going to see it, and you're not allowing word of mouth to work.
I'd like to also explore the 60-40. When you talk about starting with the buy nows, is 100% of that budget going there, or are you looking at 40% going there and 60% going into the cascade effect? Explain that.
So the 40-60, that's kind of like the sales activation, or the people that are looking at sales activation type tools right now, that sort of messaging. And 60% is more like the branding stuff. So that's more on how you deploy your tactics. So fitting, there are certain tools that are better for branding and top of mind awareness. And there are certain tools that are better at getting direct, people are looking right now. And, kind of, so the goal is to do both all the time.
Yeah, and I think that needs to be made clearer. The goal is to do both all of the time, and taking your budget and putting 60% of it aside for the top of mind awareness stuff, 40% of it aside for the strategy for the buy now and the I could change my mind later shoppers.
Yep.
Other questions for Andy? We've got about a minute if you want to put something in the chat. There is another question while you're thinking. How do you narrow down, or which avatar do you ultimately choose to target?
This is a tough one, because I think that they feel like they're leaving people out if they ignore them. As you prioritize it, is think about your best customers, think about your people that are your best referral sources, most profitable customers, kind of that 80-20, the 20% of your customers that make up 80% of the revenue in your business. Start there. And you'll probably have a handful of choices. Just pick one and go with it. And then stack every 90 days, kind of add one. Think, maybe it matches up with your product. Maybe it matches up with these are the people that or the best at reaching. I think sometimes you can get stuck on like, I want something new, and you stop doing what's always worked. So I think that plays into it, because it's always exciting to chase after the next kind of hunt, the next, from a hunting analogy, than it is to kind of farm what you already have. So
I think that's it.
Okay, cool. So let me introduce our next speaker. The next topic is recruiting in a search engine-led world. Katrina Collier, I found her on a blog, and it listed that the top 10 books recruiters should read. And her book was number 1. So she gets paid to speak at conferences. She was a speaker at a national recruiting conference. She's one of the keynote speakers. So I believe she's from somewhere in Europe, but I have to look again. But she's an author. And I'm super excited about having her come and talk. It's been more of a recruiting talk, kind of helping you attract more, the better employees and keep the employees that you have, because we had a topic like that a few weeks ago, and that went over really well. So we're talking about that topic again. So, all right, well, we're coming near the end here. So I appreciate everybody that came here today. You will get the recording. We'll see you in 2 weeks, and appreciate everyone being on the call today. So have a great day.